Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a little video which is kind of something that I've just been watching some videos on. I want to just express I don't copy these videos, but I do get ideas from them and I want to expand. So again, I'm sorry if my hamsters start chatting and squealing in the middle of the video. They are arguing a lot at the moment, but it's quite normal. So yeah, I just wanted to get into worldviews in general, of me forming worldviews. How obviously I'm 23, so I thought it'd be interesting just to discuss a couple of things I've observed and things like that, keeping in mind obviously I'm not blind and I know that I'm 23 and that my views are going to be dissimilar or potentially not the views of people that have lived more life or people with different morals and beliefs than me. So that's kind of what I'm going to discuss, because I think there's a sense of entitlement by some older people over younger people, but it's easy to say I'm older so I know more and I'm more educated, but then you're also trying to make that your beliefs are more valid than mine. So I just want to look, because even though I'm 23, I'm still an adult in my own right, I'm still a person in my own right, I've got my own views and you've got yours, sort of thing. So I want to start talking about taxes and people living in high class areas that I've noticed, and people that views towards homelessness and money and stuff. So I was watching this video and this girl was talking about how looking at housing, people were talking about how taxes were too high, and don't get me wrong, I always they say that money doubles every 20 years or whatever, but people that were saying that taxes were too high, she said this thing about how taxing is a way to stop people from hoarding money and hoarding wealth and try and distribute it well among the country, not only to keep the country running in a functional non-anarchical way, that's a word, and not a functional way, but it's also to stop people from having a really greedy mindset. I'm not saying people that are I'm not trying to judge anyone here that has a lot of money, because I'm not saying it's everyone's greedy that has any sort of money. that's not for me to judge or say, and I don't feel that way anyway. But it's made me interested in, it's just made me see that taxes are there to stop people from doing that, and to to keep the country running. And this is any country that has tax, I suppose. But people were saying that taxes were too high, and some people, she was talking about how people can see sometimes housing as a commodity, or not as a necessity. So something obviously that and I'm not saying it's bad to have a nice house, because especially in Western culture, that's how we are. I'm not trying to take away from that. I like a nice house, I'm not trying to judge here, not at all. But I think for me, what I'm coming to find in my mindset is, because I'm obviously developing all this balance and realizing that for me it's also a biblical standpoint of remembering my humility, and the fact of housing is a necessity. It's not something, I like to have a nice house, but I think for my current viewpoint is to not be greedy and not be greedy, it's not about greed, it's about me making my own judgments, about remembering that housing is a necessity. And I'm starting to see that when I saw that the girl was talking about, the bloke's talking about housing more as a commodity, and he wasn't talking, the point is I'm starting to realise that alignment of morals and beliefs is how people are different. So these people, apparently she was looking at people that mocked people that were homeless, for example, and I'm not saying I don't honestly think I'd ever be someone to I don't know, it's hard to say. I'm not trying, okay, no. I feel it's easy to be uneducated on a topic. I know when you get older, you learn more about life, and I've come across some unsavoury, if you people that I probably wouldn't want to be around myself, that have been, it's about making your own judgment, I feel like, and not judging other people. Like, I've been through mental health service, so I became quite open to different people in different circumstances. And I know an old friend of mine who I don't speak to anymore, but was part of had sort of issues like this as well. And you just have to think, like, people just go in such different routes in life, and I think it's just acceptance of that, and also that but people will put for, like, I think I can't change anything about society, and society runs as it should, because I'm not God, and I'm not going to try and pretend like I've, you know, got a better idea than how life should be. Life is what it is at the end of the day. But I think a lot, like, some people, the reason why things become tricky is when people become very narcissistic and individualistic and have this outlook of, like, they don't really see things, like, they see things only from their viewpoint, and it's such a human thing. So I've just noticed that I'm trying to find my feet in the different concepts in life, like the way, learning more about how I want to be. And I realised in 2020, like, I feel like every person is necessary in this world. Like, there's no one type of person. We need every single type of person, even people that you might not associate with or want to hang out with or get annoyed by. We, like, need those people, for they serve a purpose. What I realised in 2020 was that I've noticed that they serve a purpose, and you can't change people. That's 2021. You can't change people. They are who they are, and you're only really fooling yourself if you think you can change people. I feel like people can change, but they're still their core person. Like, I've said in my channel, your essence stays the same throughout your life. So you might express it in different ways, especially as you get older, but your essence stays the same. And I think it's important to keep people in your life as well that don't want to change you, because that can be exhausting. Like, if you're always trying to change yourself for someone else, it's just absolutely brain grinding. I think there's nothing wrong with bringing out different sides of different people, but as long as you're not repressing massive sides of yourself when you're dealing with certain people for their own satisfaction, because at the end of the day, then you're not being authentic, and you can't build authentic connections with people if you don't gel with them. It's all right to go through life and meet different people and realize and build discernment, and not want to see. And I think one thing as well is I've got to forgive myself even for not having discernment sometimes, because I think I've literally even just, like, it's so easy to just blame yourself or question yourself for things, and I'm like, I haven't, like they say, when you're younger you're more naive. I haven't built discernment yet. People say people with childhood trauma can be overly trusting or under trusting. I'm not invalidating that, but I feel like I've still gone through situations and like developed through those, grown through those situations to realise the people's differences and build discernment on the next situation, if you know what I mean. And that's part of life. So, like, obviously I always bring up the Bible, which, if you're not religious, then I do apologise, but I will just quickly say that the Bible always says, look at the Bible, which is steady, and not the world, because the world will always change and develop, and, like, not give you the answers necessarily that you're looking for. I think a lot of people look for a lot of answers to things in the world, where it's crazy to me how the Bible answers so many of my questions. And my misunderstandings about the world, like, they're all in the Bible, to be fair. So there we go. And I think I'd learnt this a while ago, to be fair. I hope to think that I've learnt this a while ago, but there's, and I'm not going to reference the Bible in this, or shall I? I don't know. I've noticed there are people in the world that will try and, in changing you, will try and break you down in order to change you, and I think that's just part of being in a, like, toxic friendship, relationship, whatever. And I'm sure I've probably done the same, but it shouldn't be. I'm not saying, like, life comes without problems, but I'm starting to notice that you go through life and you go through people, like that's not a problem. I'd rather have gone through situations to build discernment rather than have avoided the whole situation and not know, so you've got to look at it from that perspective, and not even to blame any of the people that I've built discernment from situations, realizing I'm not in the place to want to have them in my life. God's taken them away, however you want to look at it. Like, I'm sure they're their own person and they've felt the same, or gone through their own journey from finding me, because I'm not in theirs. So that's okay, and I think just finding peace and acceptance with that is really helpful. Seeing the time now. Don't know what that means. Oh, I wanted to quickly say as well, I feel like I don't know why this all went together. I've made a couple of notes, but I'm trying to understand my own words. Oh yeah, I think I just wanted to kind of touch on the fact what goes around comes around. I don't like all of these worldly phrases. It's easier to, I want to specify what I mean when I said that. And like, things balance out, let's put it like that. Things balance out in the end, because I was just noticing that like this is going to sound really weird, but this is how I'm going to describe it. Is I feel like I have done a bit of work on totem poles and spirit animals. I have a whole video on that. But one of my spirit animals, which really, when you want to say what spirit animal is, it's like, it's characteristics of an animal that you can also see in people. So if you want to look at it like that, that's really all it is. And yeah, so one of my spirit animals is like a squirrel, I've noticed. So squirrels are like really observant, and they just see a lot, and they're just really observant basically. And like, it's like people that I've talked about, people that are like highly sensitive and people like that, but I'm just a highly observant person, so I've obviously got to focus my energy on the right things in order to like keep my sanity, really. But like, I may have noticed things about people that didn't respect that aspect of myself, and not like, I always think don't repay evil for evil, so I wouldn't like disrespect them straight off the bat for not respecting myself. But I think what goes around comes around at the end of the day. Like, if someone is disrespectful or whatever to me, it's not about being disrespectful, it's about how people take things out on people, either consciously, like realizing that it's causing harm, or not realizing that it's causing harm. And I do the same thing to other people that don't deserve it. Like, they haven't done anything for me to if I'm like, it can even be such small things. Like, I'm not one of those people where I'm just going to be angry with everyone, but like, I feel like people, even if it's just being a bit rude or passive aggressive, or ignoring or whatever, it's like people take out, like, it all works itself out in the end, especially if you don't even realize that things you're doing are affecting someone else. Like, that's the worst thing. And I think that's something that with age that I've come to, that people just have to do. But I've always realized it's a sense of cognitive dissonance with human beings that's so helpful and healthy. Because if you were to, because I am a squirrel spirit animal, like, if I was to internalize every single effect I had on other people, obviously you wouldn't do that, but like, if I did do that, and people I've had issues with in the past, even back to my like bullying experience, like, I feel like I would have been doing things that upset someone else, but I wasn't in the place, and I knew from my inner self, and my dragon spirit animal, which is about resilience and pathfinding, that like, that wasn't my problem, that they were having an issue with me. Like, that's really not in my job description. So I kind of like had that discernment when trying to deal with that. But it just carries on through life. Like, I'm not trying to say I was like bullied again, but it's like, I feel like some people will bring it upon themselves to take out things on people that don't deserve it, just as everyone does. And I've mentioned in the past, like, I feel like that experience with bullying, like several other like childhood traumas, like accumulated to my mental health issues. But a lot of the time in the world, one person's sort of disagreement or like projection. When I talk about projection, I talk about people taking out things on people that they don't deserve from their own mind or whatever. So someone projecting like their issue on someone else, or just basically giving someone a hard time that they don't deserve, that's not going to affect you long term, like whereas bullying would, which is why that's a different thing. especially as a child, it's so hard as a child, but I feel like a lot of factors came into play with my mental health, so let's not go into all that, even though I have gone into that in videos. But yeah, I feel like everything works out in the end, and this is just like a little closing thing, because like, oh my god, I've been talking for 15 minutes, wow. And I feel like things are out of my hands and out of other people's, even, I've got to remember that as well, things are out of our hands and other people's hands, and I'm getting more comfortable with that, because I think I've even noticed, I said in my growing up Catholic video, and that I've literally think at one point I had a bit of a god complex, in that I felt that I had to be like the good Samaritan for everyone, and like, you know, be responsible for other people's like happiness and stuff like that, because my parents always taught me that I should be happy. I thought that I was, you know, responsible for their happiness and stuff like that. So I'm just getting more comfortable with realizing that, even though I think it even says in the Bible that we have the same like power as God or something, because I think we have Jesus inside. No, we don't have the same power. Okay, I don't want to go into all that stuff, but we have like God's power within us, because Jesus is spirit, we're made in God's image, is a belief, a religious belief I believe, but obviously you don't have to believe that. But I just think like realizing that the outcome of life is not in anyone's sole control apart from God makes me really comfortable, and just like really just happy that I haven't got that responsibility, I haven't got to worry about satisfying anyone else's god complex, and I'm just happier and happier and more secure moving through life, realizing that like God is the most important thing for me. But I suppose just like that, even if you don't believe in God, just the fact that like the universe is sort of gonna happen, if you like. But okay, I don't want to rely. Okay, I take that universe thing back, because I'm not a big. It depends. I'm going to just go on what I think, because I don't want to go into the whole universe thing, because I think that's quite a tricky thing, and you can get stuck in a lot of mindset if you think, oh, the universe is going to bring me what I need. I'm not going to comment on all that type of stuff. That's not what this video is about. But yeah, just I'm rambling, so I just want to come to the last thing, which is that I've noticed that, I just think for me, I'm noticing I have to be aware of narcissism in myself. I mean, and others, to be fair. I'm being aware of narcissism in myself. So everyone has a sense of healthy narcissism, and that's kind of goes with the whole ego, protecting yourself from other people and not internalizing other people's stuff, especially if it's not in your job description. Being aware of my own and others' narcissism, being humble, and realizing that even though other people have flaws and I have flaws, like we're all human beings at the end of the day, and that we all learn by contrast, and like being aware of single-mindedness as well. Mainly I was referring to in others, but also myself. This can come along with narcissism, but I feel like it's easy to, and they say, and I feel like I've come across people like this in the past, where they have this like one-track mind of like, I'm right, you're wrong, or even if they don't have that mindset, it can come across that way in the way they conduct themselves. And the fact is, they just don't have as broad sense of mind range as what maybe I do, so I would see them as single-minded, whereas some other people wouldn't. But either way, I feel like I need to be aware of these people and just know that it needs to come from me and like God. But also, I think it's also, I've seen another Bible verse recently, if you're interested, that person who judges someone else puts himself in the way for abuse. So I didn't put that right, but I think it's something like, if you are to tell people, like God talks about people in the Bible like murderers, like rapists, people, I'm not like trying to judge these people now at all. I'm saying God talks about people, and even things to like wicked people, like evil people. You know, I've read the occasional horoscope. Maybe you can call me a bit on the evil realm for that, whatever. I'm sure I've got, you know, dark sides of myself, everyone does. But like, I feel like it's easy to, I wouldn't condone horoscopes for everyone. I'm not trying to condone that sort of thing at all, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to make the point that everyone's perfect. It's not good to necessarily do horoscopes. I don't think it is. From a biblical standpoint, God says absolutely do not do horoscopes, and I have tried to move away from them, if I'm honest, because I don't know how good they are. So there we go. And I feel like being a believer, oh, I've literally lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, I think, yeah, so if you judge someone else for being like evil or like a liar or anything like that, and you try and change them, or you try and fix them, or you try and make them something that they're not, because God made us all perfect how we're supposed to be. So if you try and take on that God complex of like, I need to change this person so they fit me, that's really a selfish, entitled way to think, really, because it's not something that's in our job description at the end of the day, and it's really just something that we shouldn't be doing. And it says someone that does that puts himself in the way of being abused, because, and it's hard, and I think moving forward I'm just going to be like, well, I held my own integrity, and I think sometimes you've got to just take the rough with the smooth and pick and choose your battles. So I feel like the most important thing for me during a toxic relationship I've recently had was to hold my integrity, and I feel like I did that, and I feel like they did that. But the fact is, you do put, I think I'm such a big believer, like even forgiveness as well. I've noticed recently that forgiveness is like a massive, and I've talked a few times about this, but in Christianity they believe that being like, because of like the blood of like Jesus, and Jesus, in Christianity they believe that Jesus was crucified and died for our sins and died for our lives, to like save us from all our sins and all our wrongdoings, and to give us like eternal life in like God. So with that belief, it's like you can forgive anyone because we have the power of Jesus Christ within us to forgive anything that happens, because at the end of the day you're not even doing yourself any favors if you're not forgiving someone else. It really just gives you a lot of bitterness, stubbornness, and just crap that you just shouldn't be carrying around, and like is really just like a detriment to yourself if you kind of deny that sort of intrinsic truth. From, okay, right, I'm going to use intrinsic truth because at the end of the day I'm talking from my perspective, but if you deny that intrinsic, like from a Christian standpoint, belief, you're really like not doing yourself any harm. And even from a non-religious standpoint, I think it's also really important to have forgiveness for people, especially if they shouldn't deserve it. Another thing that they learn from this is that they say like love your enemies, like love, and this doesn't mean like to like hug your enemies. It's like I think I was watching one of the videos about how forgiveness is different to reconciliation, because it's like, don't be in an abusive relationship but do forgive the abuser, or don't be in a just don't, I'm not trying to exempt myself from any things that I've done to any other people, but I feel like don't be in a situation that you're uncomfortable, but forgive and move on and adapt and grow through the situation and be better next time, and treat it as a trial, as a learning experience and a growth experience. And yeah, just like being that way can be really, helpful to just like release just stubbornness and bitterness and resentment and just crap, because I've everyone's done it. I've held on to resentment and crap. I'm still doing it. Like I can only try. Like we're all human beings, and like, I'm honestly not trying to put myself on any sort of pedestal or anything. Like if there's one thing I've learned from the mental health system, is I'm a human being. Like I have a human, I have a human being like level of everything. So I'm not trying to be like holier and now and God is everything. I'm not trying to do that at all. So yeah, I think just from now it's just, I feel like I'm a big believer, because I've been a support worker in the past, of having a good quality of life for everyone, but myself as well. So which is why I'm actually very defensive around my own beliefs and my own morals and my own even comforts and my own like access to speak and stuff like that. And everyone has their own way of being, but I'm sure everyone's like that to an extent, you know what I mean? But I'm a massive believer in quality of life, and sometimes people just have a better quality of life apart, and that's a sad truth, but it is the truth. And sometimes you ought to just be grateful for an experience and just say, have a lovely life and I wish you well and goodbye, and there we go. And sometimes you don't say that and you just drift apart, and that's okay too. But I think it's just for me going to be about having and building new experiences just like keep living life and just enjoy it, and just having more faith and trust next time, and wisdom and like wiseness going into different situations in the future, and just building my identity and coming of age and finding myself, because isn't that what your 20s are about after all? So yes, thank you for listening. If you're still here, you're good. So yeah, it's 25 minutes of ramble. I'm gonna go. So yeah, thank you for listening, and speak to you soon. Bye.